Good morning, everyone. Welcome. Today is Friday the 13th. It's Friday, February 13th. This is our Governing Board workshop meeting for the month of February. I'm pleased to call this meeting to order. I'm pleased to call this meeting to order. Before we move forward, please join us and rise if you can for the Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning once again. I'm Christine Novello. I'm the Sun City West Governing Board President and therefore the chair of today's meeting. We do have quorum today with 8 of our 9 directors present. I recommend that the absence of Director Sandra Forsey be excused. Are there any objections? Seeing none, we do have quorum and Director Forsey's absence is excused. I'll read our meeting procedures at this point. The Governing Board and its committees conduct all their meetings in compliance with Arizona Planned Community Association open meeting laws per ARS 33-1804 and in concert with RCSCW bylaws, policies, and standing rules. Parliamentary procedures as outlined in the most recent edition of Robert's Rules of Order will also be followed in all meetings as appropriate, consistent with Bylaw 3.07, Procedures for Owner-Member Meetings, and Standing Rules number 2 and number 3. So with that being said, we will look now for our minutes from our January 9th workshop meeting. Directors, did you see any, do you have any concerns or any corrections? Any objections with filing these minutes as written? Excellent. So we'll move on with that. Thanks again. Although our agenda calls for us to move straight into reports, we do have a matter of new business that, with a subject matter expert present. That's 4.05 for our properties facilities. We do want to make sure that we cover that while Holly McCurdy from that committee is here. So we're going to cover this topic first. So under our 4.05, the final revised properties facilities policy reviews, we have FA 1, 2, etc. Our chairperson, John Chatton, will give us a brief update on where we stand with those. Director Chatton.
Thank you, President Novello. These policies have been reviewed by the Properties Committee 3 times. They've been looked at by the Governing Board once. We have talked these policies to death, and hopefully the board has looked at these. Every single one of these policies has a log in the back of the policy to tell you what changes were made and why. So, and Holly McCurdy is the one who has been our secretary on this. She has put this all together and done a fabulous job with it. She's got a flight to catch, so if we have any questions for myself or Holly, now's the time to ask them. Otherwise, I suggest we move on with these policies. Any questions by anybody?
Director Graham.
Yes, thank you. Under 1.0, it appears we're striking out major repair. Is that correct? Am I reading that correctly? That's a strikeout? Because then under 3.1, we still list major repair. So does that conflict with the intention or? Okay, thank you.
So for those who, for the recording, that's all right. If you can step to the microphone, I'm so sorry to make you do that. But this is committee member, Properties Committee member Holly McCurdy. And she'll repeat that. Thank you.
So probably a miss on my part. So I will just strike it out and send it over to Karen for a final. It wasn't intentional. It should be completely out of the.
You had a lot to juggle. Thank you. Anything else you noticed there, Director Graham?
Well, I just kind of have one comment. All of our references are generally other policies. I think in creating a policy, we, at some point, ought to be referencing why we're doing this, because it's required by one of our governing documents. I mean, we're not doing this just because we want to do it. We're doing this in a sense because we have to do it. But nowhere in here do we reference anything out of a CC&Rs or bylaws. It's just, we bounce back and forth referencing other policies. So when those policies may change, does that mean we have to change this policy? I don't know.
Well, if I can take that one briefly. We did vote back in November to have an end-to-end policy review done of all of our policies, because I think that comment would apply pretty much across the board, if you'd agree. I think it's a good point, but it's one that would apply to several of our groups of policies. And we have a lot of cross-referencing and so forth, so I think we can do a much better job across the board. Well, what do you think of that, Director Chatton?
I would agree. I think, but even if you change a policy that's referred to, you just change that policy. It doesn't change the reference to that policy at all. So I think it's still quite applicable.
Right, and having a clear purpose for each of our policies would be a really good practice to have. Sometimes we have it and sometimes we don't. And I think that's something from a consistency standpoint that we hope to rectify.
And we did consolidate a couple of policies here too, and did away with, I believe, one. So that makes a difference.
Anything else, Director Graham, that you noted?
I just have one comment on FAO 6. Under 2.3, rental by non-chartered clubs or nonprofits when sponsored by 5 or more association members. How did we determine that to be 5? And in this case, then it goes on to say the individual renter or group must be present, yet later on, we talk about when it's rented for a political purpose, all sponsoring members must be present. Why in one case does only one have to be present, but in the other case, all 5 have to be present?
I'm looking for what numbers are you talking about? Oh,
Under 2.3, and then the other section is under 2.6. We're just a bit inconsistent, which may be by design, but I don't know how we came up with the number of 5, but
From where, that's a
our
different
decision.
question, but from my perspective, when I read it, Director Graham, I just said, each of the others, it's one person renting. In this case, it's 5 people who are sponsoring, so perhaps that's the reason why all 5 needed to be there.
So the governing board, the last time this was brought to you, you asked for that to say 5. You wanted it consistent with the 2.6, I think it is. So that's why it's 5, I have no idea. It's always been 5. I didn't change that.
Okay, so if it's 5, then should 2.3 and 2.6 be the same, that all 5 must be present? 2.3 says only the individual renter must be present.
Yeah, and I think that was because one of them was non-chartered clubs or nonprofit. It wasn't political, right? And so we said, yeah. And so that's why we said only one person for non-chartered or nonprofit, but for the political, 5 members. Because there's a big controversy on the whole political thing in the Sun City West facilities.
From my perspective, I'm satisfied with that response. Director Chatton, anything you wanted to add? Or any other director? Director Turner has a point as well.
Yeah, it's just on 2.6. It would be a change, and that I would like to see. I don't know whether the rest of the board would agree with me or not, but I believe it should
Excuse me,
be-
Director Turner, I'm going to interrupt you. Does it pertain to, I wanted to just settle, Director.
It's about 2.6.
Okay, so it's
Yeah.
the same point that he was
Yeah.
making? Okay, I apologize. Go ahead.
Yeah, on 2.6 on the political rentals, is that I would like something in there which says that it's for the elected officials or candidates to meet with association members. That satisfies the Arizona statutes, and it means that essentially the general public would not be allowed to attend. It would be for residents only to meet with their elected representatives or candidates, which is the minimum that we need to provide according to the Arizona statutes.
Christine?
So are you saying just one, right?
No.
Was that what, was
Well,
that?
the Arizona statutes
yeah.
say.
Totally
the-
familiar with it, read it 5 million times. So that's why I put a political candidate, a non-member guest. It didn't say that before, right? It said political candidates. So I made it, I unpluralized everything.
Yeah, it's not who's coming, it's who they're meeting with, is my concern. Is that I believe they should be allowed to come here and meet with our membership and have discussions and speeches and talk with our membership. I'm not convinced that we need to allow the general public to come in at the same time.
You don't want to see a political rally.
I don't want to see a political rally, but I want our members to be able to meet with their representatives and candidates.
The only thing that we need to be very careful about this, Director Turner, because I understand the spirit of what you're asking for, but it could be something that exposes us to a future legal challenge, and I believe that's why the Properties Committee wanted to be a bit more conservative on this. I hear your point, but we may need to get some additional legal guidance before adding that additional language.
Yeah,
At your suggestion, I'm just, I would be more comfortable, although I appreciate your point, I would be more comfortable moving forward with this change first, and then requesting guidance before making a subsequent change.
yeah, no, okay. I'm okay with that. I think the statute is actually fairly clear, though.
I understand that's the minimum that we would need to, and then this does satisfy the minimum, but the statute would always govern, right?
And there will be legal review before they're approved by
Exactly.
the entire board.
So before we actually take this to approval, thank you for, I gave the same reminder, so thanks for reminding me back. Before we move forward, so we could ask and ensure that we are aligned to statute on that, and I'm sure we will. But back to, I think Director Grom's question was about where did the number 5 come from? I don't know if you are satisfied. Okay.
And I just want to add that we did take out elected officials, candidates, or political organizations from renting the space. And we said the association may be rented by members of the association.
Right.
So that might discourage what the public can.
That's very true. So thanks for taking that recommendation or suggestion on board to your committee. Appreciate that part. I think we'll follow up on the subsequent point and before we move forward on making that considering any changes. Any other? Yet another one, Director Grom?
One more. FAO 7, advertising and sponsorship. Previously under 2.0, it stated only the general manager is authorized to enter into and sign contracts. That was deleted, and then there appears to be a new section added. Only the general manager is authorized to negotiate, approve, and sign contracts for advertising and sponsorship. My question is, why don't we make that the board of directors is authorized to negotiate and approve this? Because this is something I think we ought to be doing as a board. We are responsible for an action like this.
For naming rights, in other words? I know that the general manager negotiates all of this on our behalf because we talk about the what, not how it's done. But Stephen, what's your point on this? What do you think?
Well, I think what you're alluding to is accurate. The policy decision is, does the board want to allow for naming rights?
Right.
The actual process from a practical standpoint of negotiating a contract and figuring out what that looks like would fall with the general manager from an operational standpoint. So again, that's, I think what you're alluding to is that's the
The
separation.
negotiation
Yeah,
part, and then the actual approval still comes to us.
Right.
It
I mean,
always does.
from a
or it
practical
has in the past.
standpoint, the board would be, it would be difficult for the board to engage in negotiations with somebody, the board as a whole.
Understand?
So I
The
think
name-
that's where it comes from.
Naming rights decisions still come to the board when there is a contract for this kind of thing. We talk about the what, and then the general manager and staff will go out and actually make some of these arrangements and come back to us with the proposal for us to approve. That's been the process.
Okay, well, I'm just reading the words, and it says, only the general manager is authorized to negotiate, approve. So-
Because that would preclude another member of the staff from going forward and negotiating and approving. Director Turner?
Yeah, this isn't naming rights. This is sponsorship. There's a separate policy for naming rights.
Apologize.
This is things like the sponsorship of the craft fair or tournaments like the ball drop, the pickleball drop and things like that. This isn't naming rights for buildings.
I apologize.
Yeah.
I wasn't, because we're having some trouble with the documents and so forth and attachments, so I didn't see it.
Yeah.
So this is about sponsorship and so forth, still the same concern, so we don't typically approve all the sponsorship activities, that's correct. So Director Grum, I've been corrected on that point. Does your? Okay. Any other questions? Oh, yes.
So
Director
I'm
Prescott.
just trying to understand this. So advertising and sponsorship, they have, all the clubs, when they get a sponsorship for doing something, they have to go to the general manager?
To
get
his
that?
staff, yes.
To a staff member? And is there a dollar amount on that? Just asking. I mean, if, I'm in a club and I can get an insurance person to sponsor my luncheon for $800, do I have to come to the general manager to get that approved? I mean, I know it's a club, but the fact is I'm just kind of wondering how that works.
Yeah, I think
Thanks.
it's, I'm sorry. I believe it's related more towards sponsorship when it comes to like sponsoring the courts and things like that, but Casey's going to.
Well, that would be
clarify.
naming rights of the courts,
Okay.
right? That would be so if we have Sands Courts or the
Yeah,
Liberty, that's naming rights, but this is actually advertising and sponsorship. So I'm just wondering if you're a club and you're able to get a sponsor for a luncheon, do you have to get that approved by you?
no, you don't. The one thing, for example, ARC has their show tomorrow.
Right?
They have lots of sponsorships for all of this. They are a 501c3, so it is taken into consideration a little bit differently financially, but they only have 6 weeks that they can advertise. So that's where the advertisement comes in. As far as sponsorship for that should be supporting whatever that is, and I allow that. Sorry. As for pickleball is a 501c7. And I'm not going into naming rights
Right.
because that's a whole nother policy. But when they do their pickleball drop, their big tournament that they have, tennis, when they have their swing into spring, you guys have sponsors, you advertise. It is the policy that it's only allowed 6 weeks prior to. So I believe Fit stuff is posted right now, right? Fit stuff is posted because it's within the 6 weeks of their tournament coming up. That is sponsored by foundation, so on and so forth. So they'll have those advertisements out there.
Okay.
It is a little kind of difficult, but as far as if Rip and Sew has a sponsor come in to provide brownies, I don't know.
Yeah.
No, I don't need, nobody needs
So it's
approval for
just
that.
big ticket items that
Yeah.
you're looking for.
Mhm.
And so do we, just asking, do we need a dollar amount on that for advertising and sponsorship? Because, I mean, if you have just a sponsorship for my tennis tournament, SIS, for $250, is that something that has, yeah, so is there a dollar? I mean, are you talking like $5,000 for a sponsorship or $2,500? I mean,
no.
just,
If you're getting sponsorships at that rate, the 5,000, then that's probably for some fundraising for capital improvement would be my guess. So softball would be coming into that as that category, which then brings us to Stephen signing off on those advertisement agreements, because softball has to go through a whole process because they have their outfield
Right.
with all their advertisement. So in order for that to be displayed and promoted in that direction, Stephen has to sign off on those.
So in theory, RSIS, Swing in the Spring, has a sponsor for $5,000. That money we don't keep anyway. We give it to Prides and Posse. Do we need to get that approved by you? No. Okay. Just making
No.
sure I understand that.
I would
I can
just
see that.
probably state that as your treasurer, just making sure that you're within
The 15%, I
yeah,
got it.
the IRS status, so.
And we're looking at two different sections in the document. I'm sorry, we're having some difficulties with our online hub. So thanks, Stephen pointed out that we have all the printed copies here, so.
Yeah. So, okay, thanks, Casey.
Thank you. Any other, Director Piaskowski, did any other questions from you? Okay. Director Grom?
Just a question. Under FA 07, we've struck out the original 1.0 and replaced it with the policy details guidelines for commercial advertising and sponsorship on properties and facilities owned or controlled by the rec centers. I'm having a hard time understanding what are any properties that we don't own, but we control. I just want some clarification.
Could be renting a property.
We're not today, but we could be in the future, right?
President Novello? I think.
Apologize, I was looking in the other direction. Yes,
Yeah,
Director Turner?
This, going back to this sponsorship and signing agreements, the new wording is more restrictive than current practice. And so this will need some changes, because we've just heard from the recreation manager about and how clubs actually go about getting small sponsorships and things for lunches and so on. And according to this, the new wording, those clubs are expressly prohibited from entering into, negotiating or signing. So there may not be a written contract for the free brownies for the lunch for the club, but they have done some negotiating and arranging in order to get those brownies to arrive. And so this language will need changing. If current practice is going to continue, this language will need changing.
Fair enough?
And that's why I said maybe we need a dollar amount in sponsorships, or because if we have a dollar amount of under $1,000, it doesn't need to go to Casey, right? Or it doesn't need to be informed to our CSCW. Because you can easily do a luncheon for $1,000 and get a sponsor to do it. But, and again, you're giving some advertisement maybe on their website or within the club to get that sponsorship. But that's my only concern, is that we have no dollar amount there. And I understand what Casey said about the $5,000 or the larger sponsorships. I'm not talking about that. It says advertising and sponsorships, and that's really within our clubs. And we can do a lot of it if you have a person out there trying to sell their wares.
Thank you, Cliff.
Yeah, quick note. I think the spirit of the policy is sponsorships are tied to advertising, which are fixed to property owned by the association.
It's not for events. That's how I'm reading it as well.
What's that?
I'm agreeing with you. It's
Yeah.
not for events and so forth.
Yeah, so we can look at the policy to clarify that, but I believe that's the intent of the policy. It's not to say that we need to know when someone sponsors a luncheon or just shows up at the club and, they have maybe they're a new instructor and they want to buy lunch and they're trying to get clientele. It's not meant for that. It's meant for sponsorships tied to advertising. So, for example, if you look at the softball club and the billboards that are out on the field, those are sponsorships. They're not advertising, because advertising is not, collecting advertising revenue is not part of a club's mission, but collecting sponsorships is. So there's a way you can put those those billboards out there that you can classify that as sponsorship income and not advertising income for the club. So really, the sponsorships that they're talking about is really tied to advertising. So we can look at the policy, we'll clarify that, and I think that'll help a lot. But really, that's the spirit of it, and that's how we administer it.
Thanks, Cliff. And that's what I was referring to as well, as when I meant the banner or whatever. That's what I was referring to. I should have been more clear on that. Not naming rights and things like that, but actually hanging a banner because they're sponsoring the event. Things like that is what it's intended to deal with.
So the action here is to just add some clarity to the title, I believe, of section 3.0. Is that the recommended action? To me, I'm sorry I appear befuddled, directors, but to me, it's pretty clear, but that's just me. We want to make sure that our intentions are clear. So if that will rectify the concern, then let's change the title so that it matches and we don't have to change the procedures. Director Schlemmer?
I think you're on the right track, but I would suggest it actually belongs under 1.0, purpose and general provisions. I think that's where they were trying to get to, exactly the point you've made. Because it talks about the policy provides detailed guidelines for commercial advertising and sponsorship on properties and facilities owned. And I think what they mean by on is a fixed or a part of or whatever. So I think what probably needs to be done, instead of burying it further in the policy, is make it very clear right in the purpose what this policy is intended to cover, because I think you're exactly right, and I think Cliff's comments are exactly on point as well. I don't think we want to take away the luncheon from a club because they happen to get a free lunch. Good for them.
But it's more the advertisement on, yeah, understood. So we'll clarify, and thank you for the suggestion. It's better than, my intention was not to bury it. I was trying to get the finer point on where the issue came up was specifically in section 3, but putting it in the purpose. So Director Chatton, is that something that, is that a major change, or it's something that you would agree to consider doing as a committee, just looking at the purpose, section 1.0, and ensuring that the intentions are clear?
I don't think that'll be a problem.
Thanks for calling that out. We do want to align our intentions with the procedures themselves. Director Grom, any other points? Any other points from directors on any of these policies? I just want to point out that we've reviewed these several times, as Director Chatton said. So if something comes up and, going forward, I'd really like us to consider allowing the Properties Committee to evaluate those in their next season. But I'd really like us to hone in on receiving their hard work and making these changes, which have been underway for quite some time. Any objection with that? So we'll refine the purpose, and then we can send those off for legal review. We'll see this one more time before we actually approve, to ensure that the language is aligned to the intention and so forth. Thank you, Director Chatton, and thank you very much, Holly. So with that, we will return to our regularly scheduled programming. We'll return to our agenda. We'll move straight to reports, which is on 3.01, an update on our master plan. So through Stephen, we will go straight to Sabrina Elevato, who is the operations team member who is project managing this on our behalf.
All right, good morning, everyone. Thank you. So I'm just going to give a brief overview, excuse me, of where we're at in the master planning process. So what we've completed is our on-site kickoff that occurred on January 14th through the 16th. We had about 11 engagement sessions on-site through Barry Dunn. We also kicked off our engagement website, which has been doing very well. Barry Dunn has continued to report that RCSCW has the highest engagement numbers that they've seen in any project so far, so kudos to us. The BRS architecture team, that's a consult team that Barry Dunn hires. They came out on site the 26th and 27th and completed their assessment tours of our facilities. And then as well as the National Golf Foundation, they were on site, completed all of their golf course tours with our golf ops and environmental services and golf maintenance services. So that's what we've completed to date. In progress, we continue to have on-site engagement. We do have the Barry Dunn team coming out the 23rd and 24th. We have 7 community engagement sessions scheduled. We have 4 internal focus groups, whether that's with the board or staff. And then we do have 1 focus group with our Sun City West partnering organization. So Prides, Pora, the Posse, any of those groups that we work within Sun City West. We also have ETC Institute. They're going to be conducting the statistically valid survey here. We have a final draft that's been completed, and then we're hoping to get those mailed out through ETC Institute in March. And that is a platform or a consult team that Barry Dunn uses to provide those professional surveys. And then we have been working on some surveys for our governing board committee members along with staff, so that will help with some internal focus groups and discussions. So those will be going out later this afternoon. I have those actually finalized. And then a platform that Barry Dunn is using is Placer AI to help with some of our marketing assessment analysis and tools. And then what's upcoming, what we can expect here is a demographics and marketing analysis. So Barry Dunn will be gathering some information to help benchmark Sun City West against other like-planned communities. We can use that in future marketing needs and kind of see what upcoming trends we have. So that will be something that we have starting here shortly with Barry Dunn. And then facilities and golf course analysis, those are going to be being finalized. So after those tours were completed, that project team with Barry Dunn, BRS, and National Golf Foundation, they're going to be completing those analysis for us. And then I did include, so March on site, we haven't finalized those visits yet, but we do plan to have Barry Dunn back on site in March. I'm waiting to hear if we've collected enough engagement data so far, or if they would like to continue that process with some on-site sessions, focus groups. So I'm finalizing those dates and information. I'll have that posted as soon as I know something more. And then just an update on our website engagement. Since last Friday, the 6th, we've had a total of 12,495 views on our engagement website. That was with 2,744 contributions. And then I also included that exercise budget that we've seen on that website, where you get the $100 and get to prioritize where you want your funds or your monies to go. And we've had 244 contributions, and I've attached that data below so we can see that as well. And that is my quick report for you guys. I'll take any questions.
I'd like to go first and then open it up to the directors. Thanks for this. This is going to be really helpful to us, but I'm sure the directors are going to have lots of questions. You mentioned, though, Sabrina, that there'll be surveys going out to the governing board committees. So that's all of our standing committees? Right. Okay. And so all the standing committee members will expect to see some kind of survey.
So I'll be sending those to the directors that oversee those committees, and then they can from there send it out to their committees specifically.
Understood.
Yes.
Thank you. Just wanted to understand the ask and what we can expect. Thank you. So directors, questions on?
I'm sure, I'm sorry.
I was looking at you. Go ahead, go right ahead. Thank you,
You
Director
talked
Spicer.
about demographics. I'm sure they're getting all that demographics from membership. Am I correct?
They do have our membership database, and then they've also, they'll have access to the annual survey that went out. Yeah, they get a lot of our in-house data that we already have. A lot of that demographic information that they're gathering, they're using some other platforms to get anything that's, so the Placer AI is a platform that they can use to see who's coming into Sun City West and who's leaving, and we can see those demographics as well.
So are we gonna, we all know that our demographics are changing. I want to just make sure we have a question or we find out how many people are 55 moving here and are still working. Because I don't know if you guys are all aware of it, but I think you need to be 67 from now on to actually retire. So we're going to have more people working longer and not using our facilities, or using our facilities more during weekends or long weekends when we have President's Day off and all that, those fun things. So
And those are going to be part of those trends that we see, that we can be tracking, where those people going, are they going to work, are they coming in, their age, and then when we get to go out and benchmark compared to other like communities, what are they seeing too in their trends, and we can get that data.
okay, great, thank you.
Yeah, and also just to clarify, that was one of the questions on our member satisfaction survey, so we have that data as well. And then I also wanted to clarify on the statistically valid survey, just to manage expectations, just understand that to do a statistically valid survey, they send it to a random sampling in the mail first, and not everybody's going to get one. So, so the community understands, so the board understands. If someone says, well, I got my survey, well, I didn't get one. Well, that's because it's not going to every single household. That's how statistically valid surveys work when they do it that way. It will then be put out for everyone to participate in after they get past that initial validation process.
So at some point, we will, everybody who's an owner member will see this. but,
Correct.
You may not see everybody surveyed all at once.
Correct, and everybody will not necessarily get something on the, well, not necessarily, everyone will not get one in the mail to participate initially in that fashion. Eventually, it will be available for everyone to participate.
That's helpful information. I'm sure that the directors are going to hear about that one, and it'll be all over, so thank you. Director Turner first, and then
Yeah,
Schlemmer.
can we make sure that the letter goes out, makes that clear? So that when people do have it, they know that they've been chosen for a first relatively smaller group?
Yeah, I'm not sure the exact wording, but typically when they're sent out, they will say, you've been selected to participate in this survey in that fashion. So again, I'm putting it out now, and putting it out for the board, so when you all get the questions, you can make sure you relay the information that everyone will have an opportunity. You just may not have it the initial opportunity through that process.
Yeah. Our PR team will be putting out stuff too before those letters are mailed. We'll let you guys know too that, hey, it has been mailed. We can start expecting homes to receive them within this time frame, so that way we're ready to answer those questions if they do come up.
Perfect. That was going to be my request. Please let us know when the letter's going out so we can be ready. Director Schlemmer.
Thank you, President Novello. Thank you for the update. Great job. I really appreciate the updates you give to us as well as the information. I know you're working really hard on this, and I appreciate it. I have one question, and I do have one comment. You mentioned that they're going to be doing some studies of like communities to ours and how we stack up and compare to them. What I would encourage is, as we get into that, to the extent you guys are able to, influence where they look. We're unique in the sense of our size, our scale. There's not many communities in the entire country that are like us. And what brings up this thought is, at the newcomers event, I was speaking to a homeowner who had just moved here, and they were similar to us. They came from quite a distance away. And I asked them, how did they pick Sun City West? And they talked about this research they did of communities all across the country, and then how they ultimately decided that we were the right one. And it reminded me of the process my wife and I went through when we made the decision to make that move. So what I would encourage us is for Barry Dunn to think about how we stack up globally with large-scale communities and not just with communities within the metro area. And maybe they're already doing that. So my second comment is, I love the amount of participation. I think that I think that is great. It's a compliment to our community how involved people are being and how much information we're getting back. And I was really fascinated by the budget exercise and to see the results today. And I thought it sort of equated to the dilemma that we have as a board. We would love to do lots of new things and spend our money on enhancements and modernization and preventive maintenance. And then all the way down at the bottom, you have the whole issue of accessibility. And it was the smallest budget item. And yet I'm thinking that's the one that by law we simply have to do, and it just dictates. So a little bit of irony there as well. But anyway, great job. Thank you for the update.
Yeah, and you know, Director Schlemmer, it reminds when we visited some of our neighboring communities back in December, a couple of those seemingly beautiful, brand-new builds, they really lacked accessibility in the way that we build it in. So perhaps some of this is due to the fact that Sun City West facilities really do prioritize accessibility today. I don't know. We'll leave that to the experts to advise back in terms of, but it's interesting to know how people who have participated have elected to do this. I'm particularly excited on some of the marketing plan type of results that will come out of this. As a homeowner and as a board member, that's the kind of thing that will really help us, help the board make some decisions going forward. Who are the competitors? What are they doing, et cetera, on a more broader nature. Yes, Stephen. Oh, I saw him first. I'm sorry.
Well, I know, but
I just want to make sure that we get those March dates out ASAP. We have a lot of people moving in and out and families coming, you know how that goes, spring break, right? Because our pool will be filled. So ASAP, that would be great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Definitely.
Thank you. And Stephen?
Thank you. So I just wanted to make one comment. First of all, with that, just make it clear, the budget exercise and these numbers, these are just so far, so nothing's finalized. And I still encourage folks to go on the website and participate in this process, including the budget exercise, which I think is a really fun way to participate. But I also just wanted to point out, I mean, I'm super proud of the fact that we are the most engaging community, and it just does really give a high level of confidence in that we are getting good data, that we're going to have some great results, and be able to provide a really good final document that really reflects what the community is looking for. But I don't think that the fact that the consultant who works nationwide is saying we are the most highly engaged is really just fantastic. So just wanted to show that.
Yeah, we have a great community, that's for sure. So, but let's stay engaged. Let's keep bringing these ideas in, because I think we've only scratched the surface. So thank you. We'll continue to break all their expectations. The other thing that I think we should all feel encouraged by is that we have some expert advisory that's coming in. You had mentioned the National Golf Foundation, a few of the others. So when we're talking a lot about modernizing or making some design decisions, we can rely right now on the expertise that we have at hand. We've spent a considerable amount of money on this master plan, so it's up to us to make sure that we're getting our money's worth. So, but appreciate that as well. So make sure I'm looking at everybody now. Any other, Director Grom?
Yes, thank you. Just kind of an explanation on your chart. What is the difference between views and visits? I mean, if I click on the ideas wall or something, or I even just go to the website, am I viewing it or am I visiting it? And I may never enter anything. I mean, in fact, I might go there 10 times a day. Does that count as a view or a visit?
A visit. So a visit is going to be someone who stays on our website. I believe right now it's longer than 5 minutes. So it means you're on the website longer than 5 minutes, and they consider that not to be a visit, not a view, because now you're going to be somehow reading or interacting or engaging with the website after that. So there's oftentimes, yeah, I click on it, like I myself, I'm clicking on it, double checking dates, but I'm on there for 30 seconds. I'm not going to count that as a view. Barry Dunn doesn't count that as a view in their data. They'll be able to see who's keeping that window open longer than 5 minutes, and that becomes a visit.
Any other questions? Thank you very much, Sabrina, and thank you, Stephen, for keeping us appraised. And thanks for those weekly updates that we're receiving as well. They're helping me understand and stay current on what's happening, so thanks a lot for those. Thank you. So I was about to move on, so please come to if there are any other comments or questions from our audience, and thank you. Okay, so go ahead, Director Piaskowski, before our resident.
Going back to that slide that we just had up, each date has the contributions and the contributors. So that's not a running total. That's just from 116 to 123, we had 78 people. From 123 to 130, we had 1,200 people. Is that how I should be reading that? Or do we have a total so far of 1,461?
Sorry, what column were you looking at?
Contributors.
The contributors and
Date, we have a total of 1,461. So it is.
It's cumulative.
Yeah, it cumulative.
Okay, just.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Week. Yeah.
That was a good question. I thought it was by week.
Well,
So
it appears it
even
could
so.
be by week, so it doesn't.
Thanks for clarifying that.
Yeah.
Please introduce yourself by name and rec card number, sir. Although
Gary
we know you.
Gary Bach, 135435. Just a couple questions. One was, it's been stated that Barry Dunn will create a report at the end of the process. And I was wondering, like, there's entries, we want this, we want that. Will Barry Dunn then give us some kind of a viability analysis cost on what something is? So, you know, we all know there's a lot of people asking about a restaurant. Will that be in a report from Barry Dunn?
Yeah, so the final product will include recommendations along with cost estimates in today's dollars and renderings of what that might look like, potential renderings. So it will have essentially projects that the board can then decide if they want to take on and when they want to take them on and what that might look like, and be used as a guide for future budget planning as to, hey, if we want to build this thing, what's it going to cost, and then you know, what they're estimating the cost is right now, and then of course we would have to then follow that through based on however long it is, and then getting our own cost estimates and such. But at least we have an idea. It gives the board something to look at and make decisions based off of what they are recommending, or what the community's recommended, I should say.
Right.
And my second question is, on the ideas wall, there's a lot of just questions. Some of them don't really apply to Barry Dunn. They don't even apply to Sun City West necessarily, such as road questions. At some point, will the governing board operations, somebody answer those questions maybe at the end, so that, you know, we get clarity on, for people, that these don't apply to us or what we do about it?
Yeah, so it's not unusual during these processes in any community to have questions rather than suggestions. And yes, all that data is collected and will be provided to us, and then we can certainly sort through those. Will we answer every single question? I don't know, we'll get to that. But can we in general answer some? Maybe if there's a theme, can we answer those questions? Sure. You know, we'll look at what the data looks like in the end, but it is all captured and provided to us.
Important to note, Mr. Bach, that we've asked ourselves the same question: how will we be retaining all this information? Because it's a lot of current observations, both positive and negative, about current operations. So perhaps not as visionary, but the board has asked that, and all of that information will be retained so that the board and operations, if necessary, can refer to it. But again, the idea is Barry Dunn and the staff will come back with themes and overall recommendations, but just know the underlying data is being retained at this point.
Thank you.
The other thing, to go back to your first question, although I think you can still have a seat, I just wanted to clarify for anyone who's watching or wondering, the ideas in the ideas wall are just that. They're ideas, and they're great ideas, perhaps. You may agree that some are great, some are not. The whole idea is to solicit the ideas. None of these things are a done deal. The governing board will make its decisions on prioritization, which of these ideas will go forward, but this is a great way to at least help the governing board put some facts behind what the potentials could be. So please continue to participate, but do not think that this is a popular vote. There's still a lot of analysis that would need to go on, and your governing board will be making those decisions in public in future months, right, when everything comes back to us. I just wanted to point that out. Anything else? And I don't see anything online. I'll have Director Chatton and others keep me honest. So thank you, and thank you, Sabrina. I was moving on. Nothing online that I can see. So I have both Stephen Erno and Director Chatton, who are going to side by side make sure that I don't continue to miss things. So thank you. So we're moving on now to new business 4.01. And our golf maintenance manager, Todd Patty, is out sick today. There's a lot going around, but our CFO, Cliff Swan, will just give us a quick overview of what to expect here so we can bring this to a vote and our regular meeting next week.
Are you able to bring that file up? No? Oh, great. Thank you. So I'm gonna have to do a little bit of reading here just because I didn't prep for this. I wasn't sure Todd was going to be here, but and I do have a flight to catch So if we can hurry this up. No, I'm just kidding. It's a train. No, I'm just kidding. All right. All right. So we had a well issue over at Desert Trails. That well was installed and constructed in 1937. Yeah. Yeah. So it's been around a while. It's had water in it, and we've been pumping water out of it. But we had an emergency, which is why we're here to present this facts and findings today. And basically, we weren't getting the amount of water that we should have been getting out, pumping out of it, and we knew we had an issue, so we had that assessed. And after having it assessed, we had to make some repairs to it, not only the pump but also the pipe that was down there. And we haven't done anything. Can you go back up a little bit, Terry? We haven't performed any maintenance on this since 2012. And anyway, so we had to basically get after it. It was approximately $109,000 to repair that well. We have this money allocated in our capital improvement budget, and so we moved forward as an emergency, which we have the authority to do. But we're here to present what happened and why we had to spend these funds, and present to the board so that check all the boxes that we have to. So that's what this is all about.
And directors will be voting on this in our regular meeting next week. So that's the reason why we just wanted to put this in front of you. Cliff, the action requested says additional funds. Just to clarify, we have the money in the budget allocated under allowances. So this is not going to have a negative impact on our capital budget this year. Just wanted to make sure we're clear on that. The other thing, in case some of us are wondering, 1937 predates the founding of Sun City West, right? But the land was acquired from farmers and from, so a lot of our well pumps have been in the ground for a long, long time, which is why we cannot predict when they're going to fail, but only budget for the fact that they will fail at some point. Questions before Director Schlemmer first?
Since you brought it up, do we know any history of that? Because Lizard Acres wasn't formed until the 50s. Do we know any history of that well, why it was there from 37? Because most of this was just desert land, as I remember.
Yeah. Todd may have that history. I don't.
I would be curious.
But he had told me that when the problem originally came up, and I was shocked to hear that it was that old.
I put my museum hat on to ask this question, so I'll follow up with Todd. It's just very interesting.
Well, yeah, I mean, I didn't even think anybody was out here in 1930s.
Well, that's my thought is.
Maybe an alien, maybe aliens did that.
Okay. Director Chatton?
Perhaps it was just the manufacture date of the pump, not necessarily that it was installed and in a well at that time.
It does say
It's not the pump itself. The pump was replaced in 2012. It's the well.
Okay.
Yeah, it is the well.
Question though, I wasn't aware the Desert Trails could get water from a different golf course. Are all the golf courses interconnected, or are we all pulling off the same water mains that service the houses also?
Yeah. So well, no, because the water that comes out of the ground through our wells do not service houses. That's potable water from
EPCOR.
So how are they connected? There has to be a line between.
Yes, there's a line. Yep, we have a line.
There's a huge interconnect
and
that Todd can talk about.
I don't know all the details on it. Todd can really speak to it, but yes, we do have a line that we use for emergencies when we have a well pump go down to transfer water. It is a very old line as well, and so we try and stay off of it because it puts extra strain as well on the other pumps. And there's a bunch of transfer pumps and things that have to kick in. So it's good for an emergency. It also allowed us to take all of our golf courses and combine them when it comes to deturfing. So we were able to, as long as we averaged the amount of deturfing, so we were allowed to allocate that through all of our courses, where if we didn't have that, we wouldn't have been able to do that. So some other benefits and advantages.
Yeah, Director Chadden, I would never be able to explain it, but this came up once before during my time on the governing board, and I was astounded when Todd can describe, and a couple of members of his staff can as well, how the interconnection works. It's a bit fragile, but it's very valuable to us. Very fascinating. Any other questions? Director Pyskowski.
So if we approve this, how long will this take? I mean, does Todd, he has it all under control. We don't have to worry about any of that.
So it's already completed. This was an emergency.
Oh, okay, so
Yes.
it's already done.
Yes.
Great.
Director Schlemmer.
I'm going to close the loop because when you said Desert Trails, it hit me now. This was the old Beardsley acreage, all the way out at the western end of Sun City West. This was originally Beardsley's Ranch, and that whole area was called West Beardsley, Arizona. I bet it's an original agricultural well.
Thank you. Any questions about the allocation, though? Yes, Director Turner.
Just on the gallons per minute, I presume we've done the testing to know that we're not getting 600 gallons per minute because the pump is faulty rather than that the well is running dry.
Yes. That was part of the analysis before we move forward with the repair. That's all taken into consideration. Yes.
Thank you.
When they pull the pump out, they also scope the pipes.
Any questions from our audience members? We have someone stepping to the microphone. Please introduce yourself with your name and
David
record
Bennett,
number.
137887. Just curious, is there any indication that water table's dropping or anything over time?
Oh, that's probably a Todd question. I don't have the answer
Okay.
to it. It's a good question. I don't
Thank
think
you.
we've made any additional drillings to that well.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? All right, then, thank you. Oh, we do have another question that's,
Tom Jones, 119130. If you have water questions, please come to Pora to the Water Committee meeting. David Hunter is an excellent resource. And and they also have people from EPCOR at the meeting. And those questions that are regarding water can be addressed there. I think the next meeting is scheduled later this month, so just be aware. Thank you.
and all those meetings are published. Thank you, Tom. All those meetings are published on the Pora community website, so you can go there and get those dates and times. They're all published there in advance. And our Todd Patty is a frequent speaker at those meetings as well. So it would be a great place to get some of those questions answered. Thanks for that update. Anything else from our audience? I see nothing online. So directors, any objections to moving this to a vote at next week's meeting? Excellent. Thank you so much. Moving on. 4.02, we're talking about, it is our own capital, it's our budget season overall. So we've been seeing, Herschel's going to come up and talk to us a bit about our SIP, and there are a couple of additional updates that we've asked Herschel to make. So Herschel, you're here to walk us through some of the changes. And again, remember, directors, this is our time to ask a lot of questions, to get some clarity, and our decisions will be made in the next couple of months. But Herschel?
Good morning. Yes, since the last time we met, I've received drawings for the ARC Phase 3 addition. I've given those to a general contractor, and I'm expected to get some quotes from him back late next week. on what the cost of that particular project is going to be. We currently have it budgeted at $960,000, but we'll have some more firm numbers at the end of next week for presentation at a later meeting. In terms of all the other CIP projects, I don't really have any number changes from anything you've seen in the past. If you have any questions on any particular project, I'd be happy to answer it. Otherwise, I think I have a presentation here to give you on platform tennis and some potential options that we can do down at the platform tennis courts. This was kind of a request at the last budget and finance meeting, and so we thought we would bring it to the workshop here to go over with you folks first. So as I said, I have some platform tennis court renovation options. Stephen, Cliff, and I went down to the courts last week to take a look at it and kind of brainstorm what we think we could do there. And this is a result of that. This is the current configuration we have out there. On the left is court number 16, a tennis court that now currently today is being used primarily for the ball machine. People go out there and they use the ball machine. 1, 2, 3, and 4, those are your existing platform tennis courts. And this is just a Google Maps overview of that same area. So I wanted to give you some dimensions of the different sports that have been discussed down there. Red ball was one of them. It's played on an 18 by 36 foot court for singles, and you make that a 21 foot wide court for doubles. A tennis court is 36 feet by 78 feet, whereas platform tennis is 20 feet by 44 feet. I wanted to kind of bring this up as if you're playing red ball on a platform tennis court, it's not exactly the same size. So what I witnessed out there, and this is just me talking, is the people that want to play red ball are using the whole tennis courts for the red ball, and they're not really playing red ball on the current platform tennis courts. So in my opinion, that's an inefficient use of the tennis court facility, using one full tennis court for red ball. So we looked at 3 potential options. One of them was to renovate all 4 platform courts as they stand today, or we could renovate 2 of the platform courts and build 6 red ball courts on the existing tennis courts and the other 2 red ball courts, or we could reserve the area for the master planning process, let the master planning people take a look at it. If we renovate all 4 platform tennis courts, that budget current cost is $305,000. That's already been discussed in our CIP updates currently, so that's not really, doesn't represent a change from anything that's been proposed to date. We renovate 2 courts and build 6 red ball courts. As you can see, you can put 4 red ball courts on the existing tennis court, and then you could use those 2 platform courts. You could renovate those as well and make those 2 additional red ball courts. If you renovate the 2 courts and build 6 red ball courts, the additional cost of approximately $150,000 should a post-tension slab be needed. I have since found out, we talked with Carl earlier this week, and he says he believes that existing court 16 is already has a post-tension slab on it, so we would not have to do that work, but there would still be some additional cost over where we're currently budgeted at $305,000 today. If we do that, that would remove 2 platform tennis courts permanently. You wouldn't have the option. You could always go back to platform tennis, but it would be a costly endeavor to do. It would require relocating the existing ball machine to another court. That's not difficult to do. We would just have to have power brought to another court for the ball machine. And it would make more tennis courts available as they won't be currently used for red ball. I believe when we were out there last week, we were told since there were so many courts being used for red ball at that time, there wasn't enough room for people to use the tennis courts for actual tennis. So it became a scheduling issue, whereas if you create more red ball courts, that increases your use of your tennis facility overall. Another option is to reserve the area for master planning. You could kind of do a hybrid here. You could do 2 platform tennis courts in that area to the right, and then reserve that rest of area in yellow for master planning study. Or you could reserve the whole area for master planning study. My experience in the past working with master plans is the people that do this, that's their job. They may come up with something that we haven't even thought about yet. And it's not really, if you were to go that route, it's not going to really upset anything, as the master plan should be done sometime in September. We could reserve the funds for future use and move forward with whatever the master plan comes back with. If we reserve it for master plan, it does allow for more resident input into the overall process. So at this time, I open up for questions, comments, discussion.
I think we'll have plenty, and I know I see tennis club at the back. What would be a good time to, should we hear a little bit from the tennis club first, or what is the, it might be helpful, because I know that you've been speaking a lot with the tennis club as you were looking at some of these options. So if you're prepared to do that, Larry, I know I was trying to determine, I know he has to introduce himself, but it's Larry Plaster who will come up. And then we'll be able to ask questions with a little bit more. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I forget who I am, so I'm more.
No, I did remember you, Larry, but please introduce yourself for anybody online or here who
is up
doesn't.
there somewhere. I'm Larry Plaster. I'm past president of the tennis club. And I, for the committee, I can address what Herschel just presented first, or I can give the presentation that most of you have already seen at least once or twice, and then address his. Your choice. So we didn't find out what Herschel was going to say until yesterday. There wasn't time to get it into a presentation. But if you'll hand that out, let me have the top one. This is our comments on the presentation that Herschel just made. I apologize that we can't put them up, but
no, that's okay. Thank you very much for working so quickly. Really quickly, Governing Board, some of us have seen the presentation that Larry has made at several committees. Is it okay to move straight into what he's distributing, or does anybody feel like they need to actually have him present the? He's here to do that, so we're more than happy to have you do it. I'm just trying to make good use of your time as well. Larry, why don't you proceed ahead with talking about what we just distributed
All right, so the first thing I'd like to say is this presentation was again put together with basically no input from the tennis club. And that's unfortunate. I don't know how Court 16 being changed, modernized, put into the modernization plan. I don't know where that came from, but it makes no sense to the tennis club to start with. And can you bring up Herschel's presentation? So if you go to, well, right there, I think I can still, yeah, that one. So if he'd asked, we could have told him this, but red ball is not played on an 18 by 36 foot court. Red ball was developed for teaching juniors and kids how to play tennis. So if you go online and look up red ball tennis, except for the USTA website, everywhere else that you consult will show the dimensions and the requirements for teaching junior tennis. So red ball, for teaching juniors, for kids under 8 years old, the court size is 18 by 36. That's where that number comes from. If you move up to orange ball, which is 8 and 9 year olds, the court dimension is 21 inches by 60. So it goes a little wider and a little longer, but still inside the court. Then for 10 years old and older, you go up to a full-size tennis court, which is 27 inches wide, singles, 27 inches wide by 78 feet. Okay. So his proposal that we would put 6 red ball courts in the area of in this area, you can't. You play red ball, adult red ball, inside the service lines of a regular tennis court. It's 27 inches wide and 42 inches long. So it's much bigger than the 18 by 36 that he proposed. Yeah, if you put 6 courts in here of that size, you'd have like 4 feet between the courts, and it's nowhere near enough. Now, you could put less than that in there if you wanted to. You could put 3 courts or 4, but you need at least 6 foot between courts, and most places have a fence in 3 or 4 feet between courts, so that you're not spending all your time picking up courts. So I wish they had asked us about this before presenting it, but they didn't.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, Larry. Just to be clear for all of us, the budget request that's currently in the capital plan is for the platform tennis only. That is the 305 is for platform tennis only. And I believe what staff has done is just looked at what else was possible, I guess. That's the general gist that we asked staff to come back, I believe, through budget and finance had asked a whole bunch of questions about the different options and how to consider recommending funding for some of this. But I just wanted to make sure that we were all clear that the original request here, the one that we're considering, is for the platform tennis, those 2 courts, correct?
Correct.
Is it 4?
Yeah, well, yeah, before redone. Yeah.
Okay, I apologize.
Yeah,
The platform tennis only, not for court 16, which is a practice.
Yeah,
Okay.
which is actually
Please
tennis.
continue.
So I'll just say, whether or not we refurbish these as all platform courts or we make part of this red ball only, we're sort of betting either way. We're either betting, if we make them all platform courts, that the participation that we had at one time for platform, when the courts were really playable, will come back, and we believe it will. If we make part of them red ball courts, we're betting that red ball will grow beyond the capacity of our current tennis courts to play. And maybe it will, but we don't know. We don't know what the participation of either is today, because we log into Club Track and it does not track either sport. So we got to gamble. What's the best gamble? Court 16, the tennis club paid for 80% of the cost of installing Court 16. We did that for a reason. Court 16 faces east and west, which is awful for playing tennis. If you're playing early in the morning, if you're on Court 16 facing east, you cannot see the ball. You're looking right into the sun. So we intended this to relieve the use of teaching and the ball machine off of one of our tennis courts that's easier to play on. Using the ball machine, you can just move it to the other end. You can see the ball. So it works great for using the ball machine. It's also great for teaching and instruction, because you can do that. This is our most used court. The ball machine use on Court 16, that court gets more use than any other court that we have. To put anything else on that court, red ball courts or otherwise, and move the ball machine to one of the courts that we play on regularly, reduces a court. We end up either losing a court or we lose the use of the ball machine at the normal rate that we're doing today. So the tennis club, we just strongly object to doing anything with Court 16. We need it when we use it. So then we're now back to the choice. Do we renovate the platform courts as platform or red ball? Make part of them red ball. Right now, we can't say that our red ball players are playing on the platform courts, but for 2 reasons. For one, they're awful. I mean, the surface is just terrible. So they can play, and it's convenient because you don't have to go chase the ball, but they're missing a center line, which makes it hard to tell when your serve is in. And they just don't like playing on cracked and worn out courts any better than the platform players do. So if we renovate the platform courts back to where it should be, platform players will come back. Red ball players will play in there. All we have to do is put a center line in, which won't affect platform, and it will make red ball easier to play. And it addresses our need for keeping the aesthetics of that facility up to where it is. I mean, renovating 2 of the platform courts and leaving the rest for the master plan, still leaves 2 awful looking courts there for who knows how long, you know, before the master plan decides what to do with it. So we object to doing anything with Court 16. We use that court. And we still believe the best bet is to renovate the 4 platform courts as platform. We can use them for red ball if we run out of room. And if red ball takes off like pickleball, we can convert a tennis court to red ball fairly easily. All you have to do is paint over it and put lines on it. You don't have to build anything. So
And
that's our opinion.
part also of what we just got a really great master plan update, right? We talked a lot about our master planning. This is part of what we will, in terms of the future of some of these racket sports like red ball, not talking about platform, I'm just saying other racket sports, we should be able to get some additional information about what's happening in those sports and some recommendations, not only from our own, but from our experts. So I think that will really help, and that's probably the reason why staff had originally, this is going back last fall, the platform tennis renovation was removed from the recommendation so that we could wait for that input. But again, we heard from properties, from several other committees, and from the governing board that we wanted to evaluate the platform tennis renovation as a part of our potential capital budget for next year. So just a little bit of history on that. So I think we've heard that loud and clear in terms of what the tennis club's recommendation is. And I believe the request from Budget and Finance Committee was what, you know, basically they wanted to hear from staff what staff's thoughts were on some of this. So that's probably the reason why things got a little out of sync. I'm not making excuses. We have to do a better job as an overall governing board in our committees in terms of, we've gotten a bit better, but things like this have happened over the years where sometimes some of those conversations have gotten out of sync. So please don't take it as anyone was trying to step into anyone else's turf, right? That's the reason why you're here, and thank you for coming back. So director questions. I'm not sure which of the directors, I don't know which way to go. I don't know who wants to go first. So Director Turner first.
This is just a comment more than anything. I mean, the first question I would have had for Herschel and the rest of the board is, have the tennis club seen these plans? And the answer to that was only very recently. But I also have a comment. When the, I think it was Charter Clubs Committee, when we had Larry's presentation, there was talk about how successful the platform tennis clubs are in the villages, and the villages have 24 platform tennis courts. Now, it isn't more of an East Coast sport than a Western sport, but I did some math, and if you like, the ratio of platform tennis courts to population. And if our renovated courts were as popular as the courts and in the villages, for the ratio of the population, we'd need 4. And I think that's just a useful guide that we can have as we think about this, is that if we have as successful clubs as they have in the villages, we will need 4 platform tennis courts.
It is hard to determine, but remember what we've all said as well, Director Schlemmer and others of us, when we were all evaluating communities, we didn't just look here in the West, we looked throughout the country. So it is possible. Right? We don't know. Director Schlemmer?
Thank you, President Novello. Thank you for coming today. And you and I actually met when a group of us came down to look at these platform tennis courts. Refresh my memory, prior to the issues that arose with the platform tennis, where were you at in terms of usage? Because you mentioned that it's gone down. So where were you at, and what were the trend lines?
If you go to recent time, data was presented that showed usage for 2024 and 2025. That data was completely wrong. The usage of the courts, when you go in and log into play during the daytime when the monitor is there, you have to log into ClubTrack. ClubTrack does not tell us whether you're playing platform or otherwise. So the data they had was only from people that had signed in on paper sheets which mostly were non-members or guests. There's some members that played in the afternoon. So we don't really know what the usage is. All I can tell you is the numbers they presented were wrong. It's more than that. We're not sure. Right now, we have 73 members that say they're interested in playing platform.
Okay.
My guess is, from playing myself, we have around 20 right now that are playing on any kind of a regular basis. We can't be sure. But one of the main reason, at one time we had 200 or 300 playing platform tennis. But the better players, when the surface got so bad that you couldn't predict where the ball was going to go, they just quit. They just started playing tennis. So although we've got the potential for those members to come back, we have at least 70 that say they want to play platform, but a large percentage of those say not the way that the courts are today.
And in follow up to that, are you aware of any other communities that do currently offer platform tennis, and any information on usage there, or are we the only one?
We're the only ones in the state of Arizona that have platform courts. They're everywhere on the East Coast. And as Nick just said, Christina, was it 25 that you came up with? There's somewhere between 25 and 30 at the villages in Florida. But as you go up north, platform was originally intended to be on a platform in snowy country, so that when it snowed, they could go up and push it off to the sides and play in the cold. So that's where it got its name. But the East Coast all the way to Chicago has a lot of platform. It has not been that popular out here. We don't need platforms. The snow is not that much. But the people that come from the East or the Midwest are delighted to find out that we have platform courts. And it is a unique asset to our community. We should retain that.
And Director Schlemmer, I am not an expert by any means. I'm learning, like many of us. Not some of us are tennis players, some of us are not. But there's a website, I'm looking at it right now, that I think it's the American Platform Tennis Association, APTA, and it lists some of the facilities, and we are the only facility west of the Mississippi. Certainly the only one in the West. Not to say that others are not considering it. I'm just saying.
So as I think about the proposal today, and I appreciate...
You do need to be recognized. I just want to keep going, though.
As I think about the proposal today, and I want to appreciate Larry coming, I want to appreciate Herschel's effort. I totally concur with the idea that we need to be very concerned about what will the master plan show us and so forth. But at the same time, and I expressed this before, what worries me is we have currently an asset that is sitting in complete disrepair. And there's clear evidence that it can be and will be useful, at least from what I'm hearing, although there's not a lot of data to back that up, which is unfortunate. But as a governing board member, and I would encourage my colleagues to really think about, to what degree do we want to hold up the physical repair of an existing asset in the hopes that something different might come out in the master plan. I'm not advocating that we do anything different than focus on these 4 courts. I think that's the real issue at hand here is, should these be repaired or should they not? And I think for that discussion, it should stay on the budget proposal list that we will consider further down the road this year.
Thank you, Director Schlemmer. And thanks for waiting, Director Chatton.
Perfect follow-up to Director Schlemmer. Originally, these 4 courts being renovated were in the budget. Staff took it out of the budget because they thought it should wait for the master plan. The Properties Committee, we brought it up again because we totally disagreed with what was being proposed and leaving it for the master plan because we didn't want to leave these in disrepair for that period of time. So after our Properties Committee meeting, I thought we were okay, we're moving in the right direction. Then we come here today, and I have nothing against the budget and finance wanting to see some options, but those options shouldn't be here. Those should have come back to the Properties Committee immediately because we're the ones who decided that it should not be deferred and that we should do it. So I'm kind of surprised to see this here today, and I would certainly advocate for leaving leaving it in the budget as it is and renovating those 4 platform tennis courts. We're still, we're still in charge of Sun City West, and we can't leave everything to the master plan and to other consultants. I think we are allowed to make our own decisions, so.
Oh, certainly. No one should dispute that. The governing board makes the decision on budgeting. So these were recommendations for our evaluation. Stephen, I know that you've been patiently waiting. Do you want to have something to say here?
Yeah, so I just want to clarify a couple of things. First of all, staff was being responsive to the request to provide some additional options, and that's what we've done. From a timing standpoint, it was brought here simply because of timing. And that's the process. But we still plan, of course, to bring it back to the committees and through the whole budgeting process. And again, I think the biggest thing to point out is, staff is not saying what has to happen or even recommending what should happen. We're giving options. That's all we're doing here. And, certainly providing the board and the committees with different options is our responsibility, and that's what we're doing. There was no intention, and I want to be very clear, there's definitely no intention or underlying desires by staff to do anything other than to provide the options, and you all, through the committees and yourselves, make that decision. I also want to clarify that the recommendation, though, from staff has been to keep the dollars in there so that there is no delay. So if there was a desire to go with a different option, it would still happen the timing would still be the same, other than maybe a little bit later, getting started a little bit later in the fiscal year coming up rather than starting July 1. But it would still happen. But again, I just want to clarify some of the misnomers. Also, and I think Cliff maybe wants to clarify some things about, I'm guessing based on timing, about the data. The data is good, is what I think the message needs to be made primarily. But go ahead, Cliff.
Yeah, we know, and how the tennis club wouldn't know, but we know that there's 5 to 10 users per day on average for platform tennis. We know that, okay? Indisputable. Because when we've monitored it during time periods, that's what we found.
The day, and we're playing platform at 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Okay, 12 people. But the point is we know generally how many people are using it, what the usage of that facility is. Again, I'm just trying to give the board the information so they can make their decision, right? So we know what the usage of those courts are. Now, we don't know what they could be if there were 4 courts there. I don't know that. Build it, they will come. I understand that. Maybe more people would play. I don't know that. I definitely don't know that, okay? Or we definitely don't know that. Also, we've been talking about red ball. Those are red ball dimensions that we gave. Now, we weren't talking about green ball or yellow ball, and yellow ball is essentially doubles tennis. It's the same dimension, same racket, same ball. So we put together what red ball courts would be, because that's what we were talking about, which was red ball. Okay?
No.
But the budget, I'm sorry to interrupt, gentlemen, but the budget request is to renovate the platform tennis. I think some of the committees asked for what are the other options for the rest of the facility.
And that's what we were given.
Right. So just to keep us focused. Go ahead, Larry.
Red ball is not 18 by 36. Red ball is 27 by 42.
Okay, well, you have this.
You can look on the website.
Okay.
What you're seeing on the website is red ball for juniors, for under 8-year-olds.
Right.
It's 18 by 36. For adult red ball, you play within the service box of a tennis court.
That's green ball.
Box, but that dimension is 27 by 42.
I know, but that's green ball, not red ball.
No, it's not. That's red ball. That's adult red ball.
All right.
I mean, if you'd ask us, we would tell you. We play these sports. We know.
Understood, but online, when you look that up, inside the singles area of a tennis court is called green ball. And then inside the doubles area is called yellow ball. And the dimensions we gave that Herschel gave are for red ball. I mean, that's what those are. So those are legitimate red ball dimensions. That's all I'm saying.
Well, you're wrong.
Yeah.
I'm
And then
sorry, but
other,
you're wrong.
okay. And then the other point of clarification is there is a gap. I don't know if people know this, but there is a gap between those 2 platform tennis courts, a gravel gap, and that tennis court to the left. So that area would have to be brought up and filled in as well. So there would be an extra cost if we decided to make that all one surface. And to reiterate, the funds, we're not asking to take the funds out. We heard the Properties Committee and the board loud and clear. They want this area to be fixed, and they want it to be done in this budget cycle. So we're not proposing taking any funds out at all. We're proposing to look at that space and make the best use for tennis. We're not proposing really operationally to do anything different. Now, what the master plan would propose, I have no idea, but operationally, we're proposing to keep it for tennis in the form of either green ball, yellow ball, red ball, and platform tennis, or all platform tennis, whatever the decision is. That's all. We just want to make sure that's called out.
And again, thank you, Cliff. The budget request that was put back into the capital budget for our consideration, we've not actually formally made any decisions on loud and clear. You've certainly heard us discuss it. The request is for platform tennis. It didn't have anything yet to do with the rest of that facility. I think just wanted to clarify. So I've been looking a lot to my left. Oh, yes, Director Becknell.
As representative of the Budget and Finance Committee, when we had our last meeting, we did ask Herschel to tell us if there were other options that we should be considering regarding the platform tennis, so that there was more flexibility, that there would be other paddle type sports that could be played. It wasn't with any regard to Court 16. It was just in looking at these courts, would these courts be available if we lined them more correctly, if we did whatever we needed to do correctly, that they would be, there would be additional functionality of gain in that area. I've since spent a lot of time down at the courts, meeting with you, meeting with Butch, and going through and looking at the courts, realizing that there's currently only one court that can actually be used, and even that's somewhat suspicious. And we talked about the fact that these courts, if lined properly, could become red ball courts, even though they would not be specifically to size of red ball courts, that they could be alternatives to red ball courts for some players, right? But that the intent would be that these are designed and built as platform courts with the opportunity or the option, by simply extending that line straight down through, that they could be used then as red ball courts, even though they weren't quite to size or dimension. Am I correct?
A red ball court played on a regular tennis court is 27 inches wide by 42 long. You play inside. The platform court is 20 by 44, regular. Well, so it's a little bit too long and it's a little bit narrow.
Right.
But you can still easily play within those dimensions,
yeah,
as long as you have the line down the middle.
So,
you could put a line inside at 42 and another line outside at 27 if you wanted to make it exactly the same as played on a tennis court. But red ball would be fine playing on platform courts.
I think the
discussion, it does need the center line.
I think the discussion we had was, it was horseshoes and hand grenades close, right? And it still came to the same purpose. I also, during the conversation that we had, I believe with Herschel, that we're not going to replace the courts like for like. We're not going to tear up the asphalt and replace it with asphalt, that we were going to use, I'm going to pick the wrong term, post-tension concrete, so that those courts would then last 25 or 30 years, right? We're not going to see us back in this situation in 6 or 8 years. We're going to put them back, and that's what the $305,000 budget that we currently are looking at puts them in, that post-tension concrete mode, correct? Okay, so that answers that question. So the idea of leaving all 4 of these as platform tennis courts with the alternative ability to be red ball courts with minor modifications, nothing excessive, was still a very acceptable solution to the tennis club. And keep your mitts off of court 16. Okay, so I think from a Budget and Finance Committee, we asked the question just to say, because of our lack of experience with the tennis racket sports, are there other options like the padel ball or, racket ball or things like that? And we've talked about that extensively, and we realize that it's platform tennis, potentially red ball tennis, and don't try to make a silk purse out of a sow's ear, by turning it into something else. Am I on the right track? Am I saying it correctly?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Director Becknell, did you, and for anybody who's ever interested in what it's like to serve on the governing board, did you ever expect to become an expert in construction and racket sports?
You know what?
You get to learn a lot and meet a lot of people. I'm not trying to, and I'm saying this, there's a lot that goes into making these decisions.
Well, and I've tried to put in the time to understand the situation, and I'm not a tennis player, so I had to learn a lot, but I did the same research that Nick did by going down to the villages and looking at how many courts they had by population. And I agree that 4 courts for our population is a good number. It's not excessive. We're not trying to add more platform courts. We just want the 4 courts that are there to be usable, functional. And it is, I say it over and over again, probably one of the most beautiful areas in Sun City West to go down to the tennis courts and see what they've done from a landscaping, from just an overall view. I'd have a birthday party down there personally because I think it's just such a beautiful, well-done location. So I would like to see the courts get repaired. I don't think that the master plan is going to come back and magically say that there's something special we can do with 2 of these courts that'll make a difference. And I agree with the direction we were talking about with Court 16. Don't upend the whole apple cart here, right? This was just about trying to see what other options would there be with those 4 courts. And I think we've gotten those answers now with the tennis club, and I think we should move forward.
Okay, thank you. Director Piaskowski.
Thank you. I am a tennis club member, and everything that Ann just said, I agree with. And I just want to make sure that we understand that unless we have comments already on our board or wherever it goes on the master plan, have we had comments about the platform tennis being changed? We have. So the fact of the matter is that this has to get done. We cannot let another Kuntz area happen. We can't. For $300,000 and for it to be fixed as concrete in post-tension and let it go for 30 years, it's got to get done, folks. So I don't even know if the presentation that Herschel made is even, if we even need it to be presented to the other committees, because I would think the whole board's in consensus that platforms just got to get done. We cannot have it in a disarray like Kuntz Courts. I don't know.
Any other, thank you, Director Piaskowski. We've heard from everyone except for 2 of our directors. Anyone? Director Williams?
I fully support getting the job done. We've waited too long. It becomes a safety issue. Do we want someone to get so badly hurt we end up with a big lawsuit? I mean, we pride ourselves in the quality of Sun City West. That is a vital part of it. And I think delaying it based on a what if someone comes up with an idea, we don't need to wait 3 years to have to do that. The money is there. We've talked about it. We've ignored it. It's time to take action.
Thank you, Director Williams. I know the finality or the final of our budget isn't for a couple more months, but I think we very clearly have some consensus here. So thank you again, Director Williams. Director Grom, anything you wanted to add? You're the only one who hasn't. And we'll go back now to my left. So Director Becknell first, and then Director Turner.
First of all, Herschel, I want to thank you for taking the time to go down and evaluate the courts and come back with options. I think it's far broader than what the Budget and Finance Committee had in mind at the time. But I want to thank you for the efforts and the work that you put into trying to give us those choices and opportunities to look at. So thanks, Herschel.
Director Turner first, and then Schlemmer.
Yeah, I just have some questions, it's probably for Herschel. Does that cost include the fencing and the replacement of the tension fencing that they need for platforms?
Yes, and let me just clarify that a little bit. So we originally got an estimate from Elite Sports Builders to do that project with the post-tension slab and reusing the fencing. And that number came in at about 225, 220, something like that. We had him out there. He still hasn't given me a number. He's promised to get it to me any date. And we said, hey, if we want to replace the fencing and change out the current lighting to LED lights, would that be about $100,000 more? And he said that should cover it. So that's how we got to 305. So we're at 305 is plus or minus 10% of where the final number is.
So we'll see a final update on the number itself. Thank you, Herschel.
Yeah. My next question is on timing. If the board approves this for the budget next year, can the work be completed before the USTA sectional tournament?
Which my understanding is that's going to be the fall of 27. So that
Update on that, they come back and said
February of 27. I think that's very doable. Only caveat I'll put in there is this is kind of a specialized fence. My experience since COVID is you go to order some things that aren't off the shelf. Sometimes you're waiting 6 months to get it. So it's potentially doable, but I can't, say that's for sure going to happen.
Okay, thank you. And my final thing is just a comment, is that as, if you like, as chair of chartered clubs, my strong belief is that we should preserve the activities that we have. That, we have an activity of platform tennis, and we should keep an activity of platform tennis. And I also echo Larry's comment about its uniqueness. One of the attractive things we have about this community is that we have things that nobody else has. And one of these things is platform tennis, particularly in the state of Arizona and the West. And that's something that we should bear in mind as well. The people come here for the unique things they can't get anywhere else.
True that. And again, as we are one of the best in the nation, not just saying that to brag, we know that that's the case. So, and people come here from around the country. So thank you for that. Director Schlemmer?
So I want to pick up and echo on something that Director Becknell raised. First, we haven't approved anything today. I want to make sure people understand that. All we've done is left this item on the budget proposal coming for the next year. And second is, I just want to also echo that part of the due diligence of being on the board is to listen to all options. And so whether or not at the end of the day we do this or something else, I do really appreciate, and you said this as well, that we have been brought forth with a variety of options and a variety of things to consider. And there's been a lot of things said this morning, but I think that the presentation from the tennis club was very well thought out. I think that the presentation from staff is very well thought out, and it's good information for us to consider. And I just wanted to go on record as saying that.
Thank you. I also wanted to echo that and to echo Director Becknell's thanks to Herschel and the staff for following up on some of these suggestions. Remember, the questions came initially from us, from residents, from committee members. So perhaps went in directions that we didn't anticipate in some cases, but nonetheless, the work was excellent, and we appreciate that. It wasn't something that you did on your own initiative. You did it in response to questions from us. So thank you for that, and thanks for the good work. I just wanted to echo that as well. Any other comments from directors before we open it up to the? Well, actually, we should we'll reserve and see if there are any other questions on capital overall, or any other questions about the tennis club's presentation, which Larry didn't make, but we've seen in other forums. I think it's pretty self-explanatory, and I think we covered most of the material that Larry wanted to present as well. So if there are any questions about the tennis club's presentation on the future and any other stuff, we should cover that now. Great. The other thing, just to be really clear, it's a topic of some pain to the community, but in our workshop in March, it will be March the 13th, we will be hearing about our options for pool decks. So please don't think that anyone on staff or the board has forgotten that topic. Believe me, we have not. But staff has needed some time to gather their recommendations. So just know that's, if you're wondering why it's not in the presentation yet, it's still being developed, right? So just know that we'll be having those discussions in March. So be prepared for that. Any other, anything on that one? We'll open it up. I know we already have a resident at the podium. So we'll open it up now for owner member comments. Please.
Thank you. Lynn Kellis, 129120. This question is for Herschel. And I'm wondering where we are with the status of the Clay Club expansion. We were told that there was $30,000 that was earmarked 25-26, and we've heard nothing about that at this point.
So I guess, I don't know, Cliff? Or...
It's not on the current list of projects. Last year, as I recall, Ms. Kellis, we, as an overall community, several committees and so forth said that we couldn't evaluate any future changes until we could adapt all of the space, right? So we couldn't displace any of the other clubs, and I don't believe there was any money earmarked for Clay Club in the 26-27 budget. I don't see it on our color block chart.
I believe there was, and I do have emails regarding that.
For 26-27 or for the current year?
25-26.
For the current year. That's not a, she could ask the question, Director Piaskowski, but I don't know if we have the answer. I don't see it in our budget for this year, right? So Cliff, do you have any, am I correct?
Yes, there was planning dollars put in to address the potential expansion of Clay Club and Glass Fusion in last year's, it was approved by the governing board in last year's budget, planning dollars to determine how, to study the space, determine how we would accommodate an expansion. But we've decided to wait for master planning to determine how we're going to do that. Because we can't displace another club, and there's no sense in putting plans together to expand a building when we're in the middle of a master plan process. So those funds are still there to be spent for that purpose, but we don't want to invest in that right now when we're going through that process right now and assessing all of our club spaces and rec center spaces.
So thanks for correcting me, Director Chatton.
Who says we don't want to do that? I mean, I'm just, this was a very long process through charter clubs, properties, went through all the processes to get $30,000 in planning dollars. We realized at the time that we needed to find another space for a photography club, and we turned that over to staff to find another, to look at possible places that photography club could be moved to. At no point did we ever put a halt to the planning of the expansion of Glass Fusion and the Clay Club. So I'm confused why, I mean, who makes the decision that something waits for the master plan, like these tennis courts? We went through the whole process and decided we want to do that. We don't want to wait for the master plan. Now here's something that the committees and the board already approved dollars for to do planning, and we're not doing it because staff thinks that it should be put off for the master plan. I am tickled to death that we're doing a master plan. It's one of the best things we've done since I've been here for 10 years. But this idea that things get put off because now we're doing a master plan, I'm sorry, this expansion, that money should have been spent. We should be looking at plans for that expansion now. The master plan can help us consider where the photography club moves to.
So again, I stand corrected on the fact that I didn't remember the $30,000 in planning funds for this year, but if it was approved for this year, I stand corrected on that. Stephen, any response to this? Because I have to agree with you, Director Chapman, with all, and I apologize for not having it all memorized. But if the money was there, and I stand corrected, Ms. Callis. So, Stephen.
Yeah, so listen, so to answer the question, who makes that decision, that was me. From a practical standpoint, yes, we put it at the time, put aside the $30,000, and the idea behind that was there was definitely a need to do some expansion of that building. Again, but from a practical standpoint, does it make sense for us to spend $30,000 to come up with a plan that maybe then we look back and we say, well, the master plan said, hey, this is a better use of the space or a better way to reorganize that building or better opportunities through space utilization, which is one of the things that they're looking at. Listen, I get the desire, and I get that some of these things have waited, but I think it's prudent especially from being good stewards of the members' dollars, which is what I'm always looking at. Does it make sense to spend $30,000 on something that is we can actually get the answers out of a master plan that we're spending $279,000 on, and have a solid path forward, rather than something that we maybe are putting a Band-Aid on, or we look back and say, well, that we thought it was a good idea, but in hindsight, it's better to do this. So nobody is saying that there's not still a need. What we're saying is it is more prudent and a better use, and better being more mindful of members' dollars and good stewards of members' dollars to take a more prudent path.
So on this one, although the governing board doesn't necessarily approve individual expenditures of under $50,000, we could put on our agenda for next week a discussion or a vote on whether we wish to move forward on allocating the planning dollars. Am I correct? I'm sorry, to spend the planning dollars. I apologize for my choice of words. So we could do that if the board has a consensus that we'd like to do that. So we heard from Director Chatton very passionately saying that this is something that he believes we should continue to move forward and do. Is this something we should put to a vote? I'm asking a yes or no question, Director Piaskowski, but go ahead.
Okay. I thought last year we did the $30,000, but I also thought that we asked the staff to come back with a plan or where they would be putting photography, or what their plans were, or whatever, which we have not.
Before we spent the $30,000.
Right, before we spent the $30,000. So with that said, we haven't heard anything about, yeah, we can move them here, and we can do this there, and whatever. So that is something that I think the staff needs to look at first and say, okay, they can come back and say, hey, there's no place we can put photography, or we can put them here, and we can talk to the clubs. But at this point, for them to, we need to figure out a plan before we just spend the $30,000. But
Exactly.
that was the plan, is that they were supposed to come back with a plan of where they were going to put our little photography club.
And there's no place to put them, which was what we had heard, right?
Right, but we heard that,
nonetheless,
but they have not come back with anything.
To your point, a few moments ago, while a resident was asking the question, this is off topic, so we don't want to continue to discuss it here. My question to the board is, does this warrant discussion and vote? We will put it on next week's agenda if so. So I'm just looking for a little consensus. We've heard a couple of points of view. Consensus, do we put this on the agenda for next week? It is.
The money's already
I understand.
been
but
authorized, so why would we be voting again as to whether we should spend the $30,000 and do what that money was planned for? I mean, this idea that, yes, we asked staff to come back with options as to where photography could possibly be moved. There was even talk about rentals. I don't think that you have to have a place for photography before you continue with the plan that's already been made. That was put on staff's lap to figure out what are the options to move photography to. At this point, even if we do the planning portion now, there aren't going to be any changes to Clay Club or Glass Fusion for at least a year, even if we get the planning done now. Master plan will already be done. If we tell the people are doing the master plan, this is something you have to keep in mind that have to move photography, let them figure out where it should go. I mean, that could be part of their process. I don't see why we could go back and take every single item that we have in the CIP and then go to staff and say, well, I'm not so sure. Let's have a bunch of other options, or we need more options for this. We need to move forward with the plans that we've made and make good on them. And I know Clay Club has been waiting a long time to get some definitive answers.
What I've been trying to do, Director Chatton and all, is keep to our rules, which are that we follow Robert's rules. We are so far off topic right now that I'm just trying to bring it under control. Do you understand that? I'm not trying to shut you up. I'm just trying to bring us under control and follow our bylaws, which require us to follow Robert's rules. So I'm going to take a big deep breath and ask again. Apparently, General Manager Stephen wants to interject as well, although we are off topic. Go ahead, Stephen.
Thank you, President Novello, and I appreciate that. I'm sorry if I could just make one more comment, though. Just to be clear, the planning dollars are for architectural drawings. So that's part of the reason why we did not want to do that, because that's what the planning dollars are for. And the reality is there are no options for space without displacing another club. And that is why the decision was made to hold off. So respectfully, that's the reason why that we looked at this and said, this is not a good use of the funds. And let's have, through the master plan, figure out what those space options are through space utilization. I mean, I can come back and say, this is what we should do, but I can tell you it's going to upset some clubs, more than one. So that's why we felt like it would be better to use this as a vehicle to make that happen. So I apologize for the additional comment. I know
We're so far off topic and off the range. It's and again, so my question to the board, in my assessment, we've received the direction that we asked for a year ago, that there are no options available to us without displacing another club. That's why the money has not been spent. If we want to continue to discuss this, it will have to be done next week. So my question to the board members is this something that we continue to discuss next week? Do I add it to the agenda? Director Schlemmer has his hand raised without nodding, so.
I agree with you, and I agree with you that we are off topic. I would propose, though, that instead of doing it at the next week's board meeting, that we put this as an item on the next workshop meeting, because that's really the place where we do discussion, rather than at the board meeting. And I also suggest we do that because there are some board members here who were not involved in approving the budget last year. So it would also allow us time to educate ourselves on this issue. And I think it would also allow staff time to be able to evaluate and come back to us with options. So I like your proposal, but I suggest we do it at the workshop.
Thoughts? Our upcoming workshop in March, March 13th, will include this agenda topic. Just please be aware that the intention for March's workshop is to go through next year's budget as well. So it could be lengthy. Just wanted to bring everybody's attention to that. Still have consensus to move it to a future meeting? Okay, so we'll have the discussion. I encourage anyone who is not on a committee or aware to go back and review all the documents that are available to you via meeting minutes, as well as all kinds of discussions and so forth if necessary, and we will move this to March. Is there anything further that you wanted to remark upon? Cliff, you were at the, okay.
May I speak?
Yes, did that answer your question, or do you have a subsequent question?
I have a comment, and this is that I would hope that you would also look into the side meetings that were developed with the rec center and with the presidents of the clubs involved. And that is where it was decided. The photography club was offered to share the space with the computer club. Computer club was all for it, gave them adequate space. Photography turned it down. And at that time, it was decided that rec center would find a place, a location for photography to be moved to. That said, I'll leave it there. The only other item I'd like to add is that currently in our club of about 400, we have a wait list of 150 people. It grows every day. We get somebody new inquiring. So we're at about an 18-month wait list right now. And that club does affect our community.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The agenda topic, to remind us, is the 26-27 capital improvement projects. Does anybody have a comment or a question about that? We have a resident at the podium, for those of you.
Okay. My name's been mentioned a couple times as Butch, and I just think I'm president of the tennis club. My rec number is 136821. I just want to come forward to thank the board for hearing our, I'll call it case, as far as the money that goes towards the platform tennis court renovation. A little bit of background, I started coming down here in 1983. My father-in-law had a home here, and he was in charge of platform tennis for almost 20 years. So I have spent a lot of time playing tennis. I was chairman on behalf of the tennis club for platform tennis for close to 10 years. It's just, they need to be fixed, and I know you folks are looking very, very hard at it. I appreciate the options that have been thrown out and stuff. I don't know that I would have ever dreamed of using court 16 for red ball, but I do appreciate, I wanted to let you know that on my behalf and on behalf of the tennis club. Larry is kind of, he's transitioning out, as hard as it is for him being past president, and I'm transitioning in, and it's a long learning process. I'm beginning to find out. You know, my kitchen table is just covered with papers and CR forms and all this other stuff that I'm learning to do. But I just want to let you know that I know you're working very, very hard, and I'm very appreciative of the time as board members that you're putting in. And thank you on behalf of the tennis club.
You're welcome, Butch, and thank you for stepping up to serve as a club president. If you're not aware, fellow residents, clubs are our lifeblood, and the club officers, club boards, and the club presidents in particular really make a lot of the magic happen for us, so thank you for that. We have another resident stepping up.
Gary Bach, 135435. I have a question that's probably for Herschel and then a comment. The question is, do we have numbers yet on the furniture that we're talking about purchasing for the R.H. Johnson courtyard?
Yes, Sabrina had was working that issue, and she did get some numbers on that. I think her original quote came in like around at 100, but she's going to reduce some stuff out of that, so we're probably looking around 50 to 60. What we're looking at.
And my comment was, and this kind of came up at an earlier committee meeting, is where does the committee or the board get involved with something like this? So operations is going out and pricing furniture. My question, it's a comment, but it's also a question, I guess, is they're going out and saying, we're going to spend 60,000, 100,000. But does the board have any idea or get involved with what quality of furniture we're buying?
I was about to toss it to our Properties Committee chairperson as well. I mean, we would expect that this is going to come back to you, Director Chatton, to you and your committee, correct?
Yes, we don't have say as to, okay, give us 6 options as to what furniture is going to look like, and then we vote. We don't do that. That's up to operations to decide what. But we had a lot of input with Sabrina as to what we were looking for, and we have asked her to come back and give us diagrams and pictures of what is going to go in there prior to the final contract being signed. That was my understanding anyway. Does that sound right, Sabrina? Yeah. So we will see what goes in there.
The property, just to answer, the Properties Committee will see those options, make a recommendation, right, to the governing board, right? And based on what they've seen, a recommendation for next year's budget, right? They've preliminarily put a dollar value based on input from Sabrina and others. So once they actually have some of that, that'll formulate the recommendation. I interrupted you. Go ahead.
My only point was, what is the quality, you know, what is their guidance on how much should we be spending? Should we be spending 60,000 or 160,000 to get the quality that we want out of something?
And I know the operations team is making sure, you know, for those of us who are not familiar, commercial grade, commercial quality furniture choices are going to be considerably more expensive than what we may be looking at for our own homes. So Sabrina and team are looking at that. I believe they have the option of leveraging some of the expertise from our consultants in terms of design choices and so forth. But the recommendations will come through them to properties and back up to the governing board as a part of the dollar value and our overall guidance of what we want to see, not how it will be done. So. Any other, and my laptop battery is dead, so I'll look to our staff to tell me if we have any, no comments online. Thank you very much, Stephen. So thank you very much. And again, I know it was a long discussion, first of many. Thank you so much, Herschel, for bringing us through the changes. I don't think we had any others. We'll look forward to more. Little commercial, if you will, for the Budget and Finance Committee meeting that will be happening next week, right, Tuesday. So that'll be the time when, again, Budget and Finance will be seeing the first view of our operating budget, the expense budget. So we'll all be seeing this at our March meetings and at our March workshop. But just so you know, that'll be the first viewpoint. So for those of you interested, that would be a great one to catch. So we're moving on now to 4.03.
President Novello, I would suggest we've been going 2 hours. We have several items on the agenda. Would we be open to doing a brief break?
I would be open to doing, I think the next two, the agenda points are going to go very quickly nonetheless. 5 minutes?
5 minutes would be great.
So thank you for reminding me of the time, Director Schlemmer, before we move on. So we'll take a 5-minute break. We'll resume at 11:13 Mountain Time. Thank you. we'll resume our meeting now. Thanks for granting us a break. I want to also recognize everyone for their input and so forth. We did get off topic on the last topic, but remember, I'm the chair and I'm the person who allowed that to start. So it does all come back to me. I take accountability for us going off topic, and thank you for allowing me to bring us back onto topic again. So thanks, directors and residents, for that. And now we will move on to topic number 4.03. So under 4.03, we have discussed in several different settings proposed revisions to our bylaws. Those revisions have already been, proposed revisions have already been posted on our website. They've already been sent out in our Rec Center News, or they're about to be published in Rec Center News, because we have an upcoming election that's coming up in March, of course, and the bylaws revisions need to be voted upon by our owner members. So we've already seen all of these. Directors, you've already seen this, and you agreed to allow these publishings to continue. What the revisions were strictly revisions from that came back to us from our legal counsel. Therefore, we moved forward and we published these. We will officially vote on that, just to, dot the i's and cross the t's in our next meeting, our regular meeting. For the directors, are there any objections to moving this forward to an official vote? Any concerns that you have that need to be voiced here today? Excellent. Just wanted to let our residents know where these came from. We'll have a very quick official vote on this next week. And I just wanted to also clarify for our residents and owner members and anybody who's here and listening, when we're talking about revising our bylaws, these are the bylaws that stand for the Rec Centers of Sun City West, which is our association. It's a separate corporation. Please recognize and understand that we have another organization that operates here for advocacy. That's our Property Owners and Residents Association, or PORA. They have their own bylaws, and there's some discussion that we wouldn't want you to be confused. So we're talking about the bylaws for the Rec Centers, RCSCW, the Rec Centers of Sun City West. So that's what we're looking at and voting here, because that's what our bylaws call for. So just FYI. All right, moving on. So now we move to our final new business agenda topic, which is sports pavilion bowling policies. Our chairperson for the Sports Pavilion and Bowling Committee, Director Piaskowski, will walk us through these, but they're very small in terms of the overall sense. I think we got a really good preview a couple of months ago now, but Director Piaskowski, any quick insights before we move on?
Thank you. Basically, last time we met, Alan and John had a problem with the BO3 being mentioned. So what we did is, BO3 is a non-resident bowling. So at 3.0, we took out all the information about leagues, or bowling leagues, because that really does not need to be in that policy. So everything that you see at 3.1, 3.2, and 3.3, we moved to BO5, which has to do with bowling leagues. So just trying to clean it up. And then Cliff made a very valid point. At 3.0, we have non-resident bowling based on age, eligibility, and or availability of open bowling. We could not take that out of there. So our non-residents do have a possibility to open to bowl in open lanes if there are available. And Gary usually tries to keep at least 1 through 6 always open. So it's just, and then BO5, we took out referring to policy 03, BO3. So easy peasy, actually. It should be more clear.
Thanks for that.
Any questions?
Director Schlemmer.
Thank you, President Novello, and thank you, Director Piaskowski. I do have one question. I completely understand what you did, and as I said, I fully support where you're heading here. But when you removed all of the sections 3.1, 3.2, 3.3 in BO3, you also removed the language that simply says resident cardholders shall have priority over non-residents during open bowling. which does not apply to leagues. So without that language, I'm not sure what BO3 is really saying, because it doesn't make any statement of or clarification with regard to the priority that resident cardholders should have with regard to open bowling. It basically says that we can set up open bowling for non-residents and with no parameters clearly defined, in my opinion. So was that really the intent?
Well, the intent is this: if you're a non-resident and you're bowling and they're all filled and a resident comes in, Gary is not going to walk up to someone and say, hey, you're a non-resident, this is the last game you can play. He just doesn't, I mean, that's just not good PR. Now, will he make a wait list and say, the next open lane will go to the resident? If you have a resident versus a non-resident, that's where that's going to happen. But we didn't specify that in the policy.
So I understand the answer, but that's not my question. My question is, should we have something in BO3 that does indicate that, as you've just said, that a resident cardholder would have priority? Now, I agree, you're not going to walk up and kick somebody off a lane they already have. But to your point, something that clearly says that if there are two people waiting for open bowling, one is a resident cardholder, one is not, we currently will, if we make these changes, will not have a policy that says that resident cardholder takes priority. I don't think that's the intent. At least when I expressed my concerns regarding BO3 at the last time we reviewed these, it wasn't my intent to take the non-resident piece out completely. My intent was to make sure that the two policies could sit together and hang side by side. But in my opinion, when you take out this resident cardholder shall have priority out of BO3, you basically negate the need for BO3.
Okay, so you want to see 3.1 back in?
Well,
That the
not,
cardholder shall have priority over non-residents during open bowling and for the filling of new vacancy of the team and league. That's why we took that out and we moved it, because the team and league.
Agreed,
And we
because I
made
was
house
concerned.
leagues,
I was
right.
concerned about conflict
So-
between the two policies. I think the first part of 3.01, at least that language should somewhere remain in BO3.
Priority
That's-
over non-residents during open bowling.
Correct.
Period. And then that's a simple 3.1.
Yeah, I think that then gives a reason for why we even have a BO3.
Okay, so I don't think my committee would have a problem with that. Can we add that back in and just vote?
yes, yes, we could.
Okay.
I think that's a pretty,
we
as
didn't
long
catch
as,
that. We
again,
didn't
if you're
catch
okay
that.
with that,
Yeah.
as long as the rest of it, and again, as long as we're not being overly prescriptive and turning this into a procedure, which we're not, so just leaving that first section up to the comma, resident cardholders shall have priority during open bowling, period. I think that's
Right.
what
Now,
we're
I'll
talking
talk to Gary before I say, give it my blessing, because he's the one that does the operations and he knows exactly how that works and how busy he is over there and how often that happens. But I will just make sure, and
Yeah,
then
as long
I'll
as
get back to Karen.
I think the spirit, how he does it, hopefully, is up to the operations discretion.
Right.
Stephen's nodding as well. As long as we're not being prescriptive about the how, I think that
Right.
the intention is there, and leaving it in the hands of staff to
Okay.
implement.
Otherwise,
So I was going to say, I think it'd be fine, just to your point. I mean, because it does say the procedures established by the sports pavilion manager and approved by the general manager. So from a practical standpoint, we would do, like you said, we wouldn't kick somebody off, but I don't think Gary's going to have an issue with it, but I agree, we should check with him, make sure.
okay, so then what we're going to just actually do is take out, and for filling new vacancies of team, take that all out and then just say established by the sports pavilion manager. So bring this back in. Okay. Great. Thank you.
And assuming, if there are any concerns with it, you can let us know. Otherwise, the consensus I'm going to ask for is to move these to a vote. So go ahead, Director Grum.
Yeah, thank you. Under 1.0, general, it says non-residents are defined as those individuals 45 years of age or older who are not residents as designated by the general manager. So somebody under 45 comes in to bowl, they're not allowed to bowl, or?
Yeah, so
Is that-
what we do is, just so everyone understands, our bowling policy for age restrictive. Now, it only happens at the bowling alley per se, because it's open to the public. It does not happen to our golf courses, because in golf, If you have a 10-year-old kid that's coming, they have to demonstrate that they can golf before they can get on the course. So what we did a couple years ago is that we made it that you had to have at least one person in the party that was 45 years of age to bowl in open bowling. And just to bowl on leagues.
Right.
On whether it's a private league that we run or a house league, you have to be 45 years of age. Now, in leagues again, guys, you can say, all my buddies have to be 45 years old, okay? And card residents, I mean, so that's how that worked. Does everyone understand that? No? Okay.
So go ask a clarifying question, then, Director Grom.
Because I'm looking then at the new, what is the new 3.1. In groups of 6 or less, including the bowler, at least one person must be 45 years of age or over.
Right, and that's
What
for,
if you have a group of 8 30-year-olds? They can't bowl at all.
correct. They have to have, if it's for a non-resident, you have to have one person that is 45 years of age. And that's.
That's
that
3.2.
Right.
The new
and
3.2.
That has been, I want to say, when Mr. Schwinn was here, we had that big
It was a
meeting.
big discussion.
It was a huge discussion.
Yeah, 2-3 years
And
ago.
that, you know, at first they were going to move it to like 20 years old, and we didn't want that, and we felt 45 would be a reasonable age, that they shouldn't be crazy people.
Yeah, so
I'm
there's
looking
no
at
need to
Ruby.
reopen that discussion, I don't think.
I'm just gonna say, I'm looking at you because you're like, why would they do that? The reason they do that is because there's people who bowl in the leagues that are 45 and older. They also practice here in open bowling. So the reason we have that rule is they may come and practice, and they may bring their spouse who is not 45 or whatever. So we put a limit on how many people under 45, and I say we. Somebody decided at one point in time to put a limit on how many guests that someone, or how many, I wouldn't call them a guest because they're not a member.
Bowlers.
How many people, how many bowlers a 45-year-old can bring with them who was not a member. So that's why we have that.
And I want to say we decided 6 because at that point, Gary kind of said 6 was, you could bowl with 6 people on one lane.
You were using the lane anyway to maximize the lane space. They
And-
make it 6.
and
Yeah, that
revenue.
makes sense. Yeah. But the reason for that rule that says you can bowl, you can practice here in open bowling is because generally people come and practice before they start their league in the open lanes, if there's open lanes. So that's why they have that in there.
Director Grom, I'm still confused. What's
Well,
the
I'm
question?
confused. What happens if you have, let's say, 4 people in their 30s are guests here, and they have a wristband for the day?
Okay, so.
Well, I don't see that addressed here.
Okay, well, no. Let's just go back to what we have for membership. We have owner member, we have associate members, and then we have owner member guests. As an owner member guest, you can come into any of our facilities and participate in anything because you have an owner member sponsorship, basically, to come into that facility. If I had friends that came in just to the bowling alley but didn't contact me to say, hey, I'm going over there, Jolene, and they want to just bowl, they're going to say, sorry, well, I know Jolene. Well, she's not with you. I'm sorry, you cannot bowl. So we, you know, if you are an owner member guest, any age can go bowl.
You could bowl, if you're an owner member guest, if you're 18 or over, you can bowl. If you're a guest, but if you're just a non-resident coming to the community, an outside person, you have to be 45 or older. That's what this policy is written for. It's for non-residents that are not guests. That's what this policy is.
I mean, it was a huge discussion years ago, and that's one of the reasons we did the 45, because some of the leagues do have 45-year-olds, and we wanted to make sure that you didn't have, you know, a bachelor party coming to our leagues, or for open bowling, and just getting, you know, having a good time on our lanes, and they're only 30 years old.
And also didn't want to have groups of school children, under 18, right, that were not accompanied by an adult as well, whether they have a wristband or not, that they still have to be accompanied by an adult. So,
And they still have to be sponsored by an owner member or an
Exactly.
associate member, either one.
Policies regarding member guests.
right,
That's what they fall under.
right.
I'll fix that and then give it to, I'll
So
talk to
that,
Gary
yeah,
and then fix that.
that one point that,
Yeah.
right, about the intent. Any other comments? Do we have consensus to move with that, assuming that Gary's okay with making the change, that it's not going to cause an operational issue? We will move this to a vote at our next week's regular meeting. Consensus achieved. Thank you so much, Director Piaskowski. With that, we've completed new business for today, but we still have board director comments. So I'm going to start with Director Williams. Any comments today?
I think we've had enough comments. I have no others.
Oh, wait, I think we have a few more. Director Piaskowski?
No, I'm good.
Director Grom?
Yes, I do have a comment. Are we able to pull up the slide? Okay, there we go. For many of you that either maybe know or don't know, your electric provider, APS, in June of last year proposed a 14% rate increase. How will that affect you? Generally, if it gets approved, you're going to be paying about $20 a month more for electricity. And how that affects us here, who we have an electric bill of, I don't know, $500,000 a year, perhaps. That'll be a big increase for us. But all I want to say is this coming Wednesday, the Arizona Corporation Commission is holding their third hearing, which is open to public comments, where you can go and speak your piece as to how you feel about this proposed rate increase. I see Mr. Tom Jones is coming to the microphone. I don't know if you're going to speak about this or not, but I attended a presentation a couple weeks ago. I know Mr. Jones was there, and we heard about this, and I just think that as a courtesy to our residents, I wanted to bring this forward in case you hadn't heard about this, but it's something that if you are interested in fighting, you can go to the commission or you can call in. All the information is there. Voice your concerns, because the only way that the ACC will vote against this is if they hear from us. So thank you.
Thank you. We'll wait for resident comments then. All right, so thank you very much, Director Grom. Director Chatton?
Nothing to add.
Director Becknell?
Nothing to add.
Director Schlemmer?
I do have one item. I just wanted to report back to the board. I attended the Westmark annual meeting yesterday on behalf of Sun City West, along with our general manager, Mr. Erno. And it was a very informative session. They had a really great presentation in the opening. They talked a little bit about the use of artificial intelligence. Didn't really have enough time to get into it, so I don't know how useful that information was. But they will share out information on the second part, which they talked about the cost of housing and how the cost of housing is increasing over the time, but also some of the drivers and impacts of that. And it was a very fascinating presentation around how do we define what's real inflation change in cost of housing versus change in cost of housing due to the fact that tastes and desires of the consumer are changing. But the second part of it was the most interesting. We had a chance to do a little networking, and one of the folks I met was the current, I don't know her exact title, but I'm going to call her the marketing director for the city of Avondale. And we were talking a little bit about the importance of standardized logos, standardized presentation of how you market and sell your community and so forth. And I was very impressed because a lot of the ideas she was sharing with me are things that we're actually doing or are working on doing here in Sun City West. And the best example of that is the work we've been doing with regard to logo and the work that Katie and her team are doing on standardizing the way we use our logos and so forth. The basic consensus is things like the fact that all of our rec centers and golf courses share the same signage and so forth. She was really sharing how important that is when people are coming into the community, not just residents, But in her case, she's doing it for economic development. And she said, she said literally, you would be amazed at how important this is. So I thought I would share that because the gist I took away is we're on the right track and we're doing a pretty good job ourselves. But it is pretty important. So it was a good meeting. I enjoyed doing it. And I thank Mr. Erno for inviting us. That's it.
Thanks for representing the RCSCW Governing Board at that meeting. Appreciate it. Director Turner?
Yeah, I have a list of 27 items. No, I don't. One of them is...
Is it on topic?
Yeah. I'm just looking at Russ because I presume he's responsible, but the flashing stop sign outside the pool entrance at R.H. Johnson, very noticeable. I mean, it's a bit of a dark morning this morning, but it does make that sign very, very obvious. And when can we replace them all? Is my next question on that. And that's it.
Thanks, Director Turner. Excuse me? Of course, Director Piaskowski?
I'm sorry, but what Rudy just talked about the Water Commission and everything else, is it possible that we can put it on our social media? Because it does affect our residents, and it's important that they get informed. And I don't know how many people we have on Instagram and or Facebook, but it's just one more means of informing our residents because it does affect our residents. Is that possible?
Sure, we could do that. I would, as long as we're aware that we would present it as a service and without
Yes,
taking a
exactly.
position, obviously.
Right, no position, just, hey
As long-
guys, this is what's happening.
So Katie's nodding in the back. I would support that, and it's a great suggestion. Thank you, Director Piaskowski, and thanks again for bringing it to our attention. So General Manager comments, Stephen?
Nothing to add. Thank you so much.
And so now resident comments, we'll open it up. I know we've had a patient resident waiting for us, so Mr. Jones?
Tom Jones, 119130. And I will echo what Rudy and brought up about, if you notice, Jim Scott was here. Jim Scott just left to open up a meeting at the foundation regarding the tax rate increase, the APS rate. It starts at 1 o'clock. It's at the foundation quail room. And he sent out, I had it on my phone, but he sent out there's a blurb about this, and I can send it to you, Katie, and if you haven't already gotten it. But it's about the rate hike for APS, and that's the meeting that we attended. And RUCO was there, and two other organizations put on a presentation. I was there representing PORA. But I also want to notice that thank you for parking out of the area. I'm sure you had a long walk, but tomorrow is the 14th annual ARC Car Show. And I still have 10 raffle tickets, but you have to fill them out. And they're $20. They're $20 each, and it's a 2016 Mustang convertible, red, and you all would look good in it. And Russ is going to win it, he says. So thank you very much, and support us tomorrow. Enjoy. Bring your walking shoes. There'll be over 400 cars, and we predict that it won't be rain. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Any other comments online that we can see? I'm sorry. Steven's helping me. All right, so there are no comments online. I want to remind everybody, all the directors, that we do have an executive session immediately following this, and also want to remind all of us that our administration building and staff will be off. Administration building is closed this upcoming Monday for President's Day. Let's see. So with that, I thank you all for your patience. We have a regular meeting coming up next week on the 19th, and our next workshop meeting will be on March the 13th of 2026, right here in the lecture hall at 9 a.m. So with that, This meeting is adjourned at 11:39.